Locks of vibrant hair, ivory skin, eyes of emerald green. Your voice is like the breath of spring, smiles like the summer rain. And I cannot compete with you, Jolene. But he talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying out. He calls out your name. And I could easily understand. You could easily take my man. You don't know what it means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Yeah, I'm begging loudly, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Oh, don't take him just because you can. Well, I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you. What you decide to do, Jolene. You could have your choice of men that will never love again. He's the only one for me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Yeah, begging loudly, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Oh, don't take him just because you can. Hey, Ollie. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. You know, each Sunday I always ask you to do one simple thing, and that is to leave all your troubles, your fears, your would've, your could've, your should've, leave all that stuff outside the next 45 minutes or so to open up an avenue of spirit possibilities. And what are spirit possibilities? Well, they're for more love, more joy, more happiness, more prosperity, more health, more sunny days. All those things in life that make us feel alive. Because that's what Spirit is doing through you and through me. Showing up in the physical, recognizing itself through our love, our joy, and our laughter. So know you're in a great place this morning, and Spirit is going to recognize and reward you abundantly. Well, just an announcement or two before we get started. The first announcement is next week we're going to have Eddie Watkins Jr. back with us.
Oh, nice.
So be sure to come back for that. The second announcement is that our 10% of our donations today and for the rest of this month will be going to the St. Augustine Food Pantry. We know people are having lots of issues right now and are in desperate need of donations, and so we're doing that. We're also collecting food, so if you'd like to bring, you have to clean out your pantry, bring it here. We've got a way for you to donate it, and we can get that to them as well. All right, so let's get our service started. We're going to do that with an opening treatment and affirmative prayer, and Jim Saul's coming up to do it. Come on up, Jim.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Rain, I love it. It takes all the bushes and makes them look real green and healthy and good. This past week I did an interesting thing as I intended to do something that brought me joy. And it ended up to be a lot of fun. And so this week I'm asking that you try this as kind of like homework. Is choose something that you really love to do and then go do it with the intention of having it bring you joy. So just one little thing. It might be getting up early and going to the beach and walking on the beach, or it might be, for me it was gardening. I just took a whole day and just played in my garden, and it was such a delight. So just find something like that that you would like to do, and do it with the intention that it brings you joy, okay? And see what happens. See if you can actually have a whole day of just enjoying life. So let's go into our morning prayer. And know with me that there is one divine intelligence that's everywhere present. It was in my garden with me when I knelt down and dug in the dirt. It was with me when I looked up and saw all the leaves on the trees popping out all small and green and new. It's everywhere present, and we need to recognize it in our everyday life. It's not just there on Sunday afternoon. So that's the chore that we have to do in our everyday life, is to recognize the divine in that moment, in this moment, right now. It's here with us in this room. It's sitting next to you. You're actually sitting on it. It's everywhere. You breathe it. You pull it into your lungs. It gives you energy. It's the electric impulses in your head that help you think. And all of it gives you a free will to do with it what you want. So this week, think of doing the joyful thing that will make you happy and contented and at peace. And know that while you're doing it, you're consciously being with it. And this is a delightful experience, for when we're aware of it, it is truly present around us, and we're aware of it, and we can experience it, and we can communicate with it in such a lovely manner. So I give thanks for this center, for it helps me to appreciate life. It helps me to see joy and happiness all around me, and it helps me to create my own joy. And I give thanks for all of it, and I give thanks for this divine intelligence that's right here with us this morning. And I can release this prayer to experience this joy simply by saying, and so it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. That was lovely. Amy, you have a song for us?
I do. I'm going to do that homework, Jim. Tell me your legend, I'll tell you your future, a fictional, factual things. Feed me your fables, your heroic tales, I'll give them life and wings. Do it, now they are waiting, and time's not on your side. Life comes to those who are willing, not those who just run and hide. Those who just run and hide. Creatures of habit and creatures of comfort, that's all there is, it seems. Boastfully building the future we're telling, a mountain of technical things. Well, you were built like the phoenix to rise back to the top. And you don't have to know who you are, you just have to know who you're not. You have to know who you're not. Alright. Talk to me now, come sit beside me, I am your willing ear. Drop all your troubles right down to the floor, they don't define you here. You were built like the phoenix to rise back to the top. You don't have to know who you are, you just have to know who you're not. You have to know who you're not. fictional, factual things.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
So today we're continuing our series in the textbook, and we're on to chapter 6, and my talk title is The Spiritual Universe. Dr. Holmes in this chapter, he has a very profound statement. He says the world has learned all it should through suffering. The world has learned all it should through suffering. And I want to say amen, brother, to that. Amen to that. We have learned all we should through anger, turmoil, through shootings. We have learned all we should through this virus, from being separated from one another. We've learned all we should, but it's our choice. Our choice. Do we want to continue on, or do we want to change our minds, have a different reality for ourselves? Oprah says when the universe wants to get your attention, it will first throw a pebble at you, it then will throw a rock at you, and then if you're not paying attention, it's going to hit you upside the head with a brick. Well, this shooting that we've seen in Atlanta, this virus that we've been going through now for a year, is a brick upside our head telling us we can do better. We can choose better. We can choose to continue struggling on and seeing life as a struggle with evil, or we can step up and step out as children of the Most High and choose to make the world a better place for our having been in it. Dr. Holmes says that the individual, that we should be free from the bondage of sin, from sickness, poverty, and unhappiness. We should be free of it. There's no power in the universe binding us to sickness and poverty, loneliness and unhappiness. There's no intelligence in the universe that wishes us anything but the very best that we can be. Spirit prays for the best. Spirit prays for us to step up and to be the very best we can be. There may be evil in the world, but there's no force for it in the universe. There's no power for it in the universe. We're the ones that give it power. We're the ones that give it energy. And if we would just give up our fascination with it, Dr. Holmes says it would disappear. But we have a hard time giving up that fascination. We really enjoy it. We're more fascinated with our mistakes than we are with our possibilities. Sigmund Freud called it our death wish. We're more fascinated with evil than with good. Kennedy Schultz, my teacher, he said that early on in our lives, we will give up on the idea of a loving and supportive and acceptive God. But we will hang on like the devil to an angry and judgmental God. We'll hang on like the devil. There's no power in the universe which wishes us to be sick, which wishes us to suffer in pain, to be unhappy, or to end in oblivion. If God is good, then it couldn't have created us to be anything but perfect expressions of life. And God has to be good, or it would long ago self-destruct. And being good, it must have provided with us a way to experience goodness right where we are. Right where we are, right as we are. Not when we all get all saintly and perfect, but right in the middle of all our humanness, that we can experience the goodness, the love and joy and health and prosperity that Spirit had in mind when it called us by name from Stardust. Dr. Holmes says we look too far away for our good. It's closer to us than we can imagine. It's closer to us that we dream of good when it's right really in our own backyard. This past week I've been reading a really interesting book. It's by Maxwell Gladwell, I think is his name. Malcolm Gladwell. Yes. And he's written two interesting books. One was called Outliers. This is the one I'm reading, and the one before that was called Blink. And in Blink, he's a very interesting guy. He had an interesting observation in Blink. And Blink, he says that there are instances where people can come along and have instantaneous downloads of reality and just can cut through all kind of accepted unreality. He gives an example of a statue that the Louvre Museum in Paris had bought. They thought this statue was from the Etruscan era, and that was before the Romans, so a really, really old statue. And this was a perfect example of their artwork. Now, this statue had been found. They presented it to all the experts. All the experts says, no, this isn't an Etruscan statue. One like this hasn't been found in generations. This is a marvel of their period. And so everyone had agreed that this was authentic, and they had put it on display. So all of a sudden now the Louvre Museum has this statue on display. Their reputation is behind it, saying this is the real thing. You have a little amateur historian from Cleveland shows up. She's walking through the gallery. She takes one look at it, and she says, it's a fake. It's a fake. And when she points it out, all the experts say, she's right. Now we see it. She's right. One moment, she saw through clarity that a whole host of experts could not see. Now, this book that I'm reading now is called Outliers. And in this book, what he's saying is that there are situations that go beyond accepted conclusions about how life should be. His example is a small town outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And in this town, there is almost no cases of heart disease for people younger than 65. And that's really kind of unheard of. In American society now, there's a lot of heart disease for people under 65. So this is a place that people can't make sense of. The experts can't make sense of. So they went and they started doing their research. Why do these people, how are they free from this epidemic that haunts many Americans? The first observation is that the majority of the people there had migrated 100 years or more from a small town in Italy. They all came from the small little village in Italy. And the expert was like, aha, we've got it. They're all eating the Mediterranean diet. That's the reason they're free. They're eating raw rutabagas soaked in extra virgin olive oil. So virgin, they only grow from trees and monasteries on mountaintops in Sicily. No chance of hanky-panky with these olives. Well, they started studying their diet. That's not it at all. They thought for a while maybe they're just eating Italian kinds of pizza. Thin crust with a little mozzarella and crushed tomatoes with the occasional anchovy thrown on it just to make it not worth eating at all. Yeah. And it was like, no, not doing that. They ate an American-style pizza, big, thick crust with hamburger and pepperoni and double dipped in Velveeta cheese. So it's well, that can't be it. Well, maybe it's their genes. Maybe their genes are doing it. But then they did more research and they found that people who even moved into the area have no heart disease. They thought, well, perhaps it's the water. That wasn't working. Finally, they came upon another hypothesis. They realized that these people in this community had a kind of ethic that's not shared by many Americans. And the ethic was they took care of one another. They stayed involved in their communities. They were very active in their churches. They were active in their schools, the after-school programs. They were very active in community organizations. They belonged to bowling leagues. They belonged to Kiwanis clubs. They took care of one another. There was a very low level of poverty because this area had an ethic that you took care of people in need. They also had on the other end, they didn't really like people displaying extravagant wealth. So if you were doing really well, you were modest about it. and they prize people who did well to donate back to the community. So you were taken care of if you're on either end of the prosperity spectrum. The other thing they noticed was that they stuck together as families. They said it was very, very common that 3 generations of family often lived together under the same roof. That idea alone gives me heart trouble, but it seemed to work for them. So the reality is their good is closer to them than we realize. It's not so much about, the medication, making sure the eating or the exercise. It's about being human. It's about enjoying life. It's about loving one another, caring for one another, nurturing one another. Our great need in life is to be loving and to be loved. And it's closer to us than we think. It's closer to reality, and it's not so hard. There's a way for us to enjoy life, to drink into the fullness of it. Our nature is the same as God. Whatever is true of the universe is true for us. We, in a small way, replicate the totality of the universe. We were made from life, so we partake of the divine nature from which we came. There is within us a divine core. Now, we can dull that down, but we can never extinguish it. And if we will put energy into it, we can let it illuminate the world. This is what Jesus said in the Gospels. He said that within every single one of us, there's a divine flame. He said you can try to put it out. He said, but if you try, it's going to consume you. He said, if you give it energy, if you focus on it, if you feed it, it will illuminate the world. Right now, the world's in need of illumination, and we're the way to make it possible. We've been created of God and by God, but it couldn't give us both individualization and freedom. To be real and free, we were created in the image of perfection, left alone to make that discovery for ourselves. We've been created with limitless freedom and possibility, but we're subject to the law of reality. And we suffer not because we violate the law, we suffer because we violate the law, not because Spirit wants to punish us, but so we can learn. Pain does not have an eternal reality to it, because that would mean that God suffers. The universe is for us and not against us. And so our goal this morning is to give it something that it can support. Not the same old woe is me. Give it a new vision of your life. Because it's never too late to put out there the health and love and prosperity you want to experience, the love and joy and laughter. Give God a reason to be glad that it came up with the idea of you. Your life is not a mistake and it's not an accident. There's no sin in your life. Sin is just a mistake, and there's the only punishment for it is the inevitable consequences. Wrong will be punished and right will be rewarded, but we're not punished for our sins, we're punished by them. And we punish ourselves long after life has moved on. Long after, we'll continue punishing ourselves. I had a friend in D.C. when I was in my 30s. His name was Bill, and he was in his 60s at that time. And I thought that was I thought that was just ancient. I thought he was older than dirt. And now being in my 60s, I don't quite think of it that same way. But he would tell a story. He had a memory that haunted him all his life. Something that he had happened to him, and he felt horrible. It weighed on his soul all his life. When he was a little boy, he grew up in the plains of Missouri, in the Dust Bowls, in the middle of the Depression. Every little kid in the Depression wanted one thing. They wanted store-bought clothes, because those were really hard to come by. Most families were making clothes for the kids. Christmas comes along, And his mother, his big Christmas gift was a pair of jeans, blue jeans, that she had made for him. And as a little kid, 5 years old, he had rejected them because he wanted store-bought jeans. And he made his mother cry on Christmas Day. Now, 55 years later, he was still carrying that burden. He was still carrying her tears. They were weighing his happiness down. And you know, if his mother could have come to him, she would have told him, dear child, don't burden yourself. Lift yourself up. Live a wonderful life. It was just one moment. You were a child. You didn't know any better. You know, one of my biggest mantras that I through the day when I have memories, I tell myself, forgive yourself, Ken. Forgive yourself. We're the ones that hold on to our punishments. And the universe does not. The universe operates on cause and effect, not kismet. It's not fate. Once we've stopped the behavior that's causing the pain will stop if we will allow it. I love in the 12-step program, when they have a person coming in that's really suffering, they'll sit them down and they'll tell them, you never have to feel this bad again. You never have to feel this bad. If you follow the program, if you release, if you lift your eyes up, if you'll know something better for yourself. Once you change your behavior, your life will change. Your life will improve. Now, my friends, we're in a place of great change right now. We're also in a place of great power. We are seeing the consequences of the anger and distrust and the turmoil that we accepted in our lives too long as natural and as normal. We don't have to accept it for another day. We don't have to accept it for another moment. And once we get our spirit-filled ideas for ourselves, for our lives and our community, our nation, Spirit is going to flood us. Spirit is going to rain down blessings upon us. I know this within the very core of my soul. We are on the precipice of a wonderful new day. A new dawn is breaking, and we are right there. But Spirit is telling us we got some work to do. And that work is to know something better. Spirit is urging us to know a better day is coming. And it's coming when we declare it. So let it be this day. Let it be this moment. Let it be through our hearts and our souls that we usher in a new heaven and a new earth where brotherhood and sisterhood will reign, where compassion is the norm, where kindness is just in the expectation, where never again will bullets of anger and hate fly for innocent people who have no fault of their own are caught up in it. We can do it. We can do it. God is counting on us. And now's the time. This is the generation. We are the generation that God's love will be made manifest. But it won't come by those weak of hearts, weak of souls. It will come from us who are courageous. Courageous with our compassion, courageous with our kindness, who are willing to step up and step out. The universe is calling on us, so let us lift our eyes up to a better knowing, and let's get on the move. It's waited too long. Now's the time. This is the hour, and we're the people. It's the truth. It's the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. All right, Amy.
Great job, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just motivated. I'm going to go home and do so much stuff. We can only follow that with a love song. So. Come away with me in the night. Come away with me, and I'll write your song. Come away with me on the bus. Come away with me where they can't tempt us with their lies. Down, wake up with the rain falling on a tin roof, while I'm safe there in your arms. So won't you try to come away with me, and we'll keep